If there was one game that I'd say will be the most significant return to survival horror in 2023, I'd say it's got to be Resident Evil 4 Remake. Resident Evil 4 Remake is going to hopefully be the game to bury the 11, yes, that's right, 11 version streak of re-releases that spawned from the original GameCube game back in 2005. This is a completely remade game from the ground up, featuring state-of-the-art graphics, gameplay improvements, story refinements, and more than solidifying it as the best return to the cold and grimy village we all came to love back in 2005's Resident Evil 4. The Callisto Protocol may have been disappointing, true, but with the Dead Space remake releasing next month and Resident Evil 4 Remake coming out at the end of March, 2023 is starting off as one heck of a year for the survival horror genre. Now, before we dive into why you should be looking very closely at Resident Evil 4 Remake in the next coming months as one of 2023's biggest game releases, I want to briefly point out that I am doing a giveaway of the Dead Space Remake right here on my channel. That's right, good people, all you need to do is hit the link in the description and you'll be taken to the giveaway portal to enter into the giveaway. I have utmost confidence that the Dead Space Remake is going to be every bit as awesome as the original, and more. So this is a game that gets my approval to be featured in December's giveaway for the channel. Make sure you complete your entry into the giveaway before the end of the night on December 31st, New Year's Eve, to be eligible to participate in the giveaway. Best of luck to all those who participate. I would also like to add that Resident Evil 4 Remake will be featured in March's giveaway, so stay tuned for an opportunity to win a free copy of this highly anticipated game. And with that out of the way, let's dive into why Resident Evil 4 Remake will easily be one of the best games of 2023, and why you should absolutely consider playing. So, as stated earlier, this is a remake, just as Resident Evil 2 Remake was a remake of Resident Evil 2, and the same for Resident Evil 3. Now, the exciting thing about Resident Evil 4 Remake is that the team behind the immaculate Resident Evil 2 Remake is the team at the helm of the project, seeing as the quality of the Resident Evil 2 Remake was a bit higher than that of the Resident Evil 3 Remake. Having an already established team that made such an iconic game is certainly a very promising thing. In fact, many of the development team behind the Resident Evil 4 Remake had worked on the original game and are reimagining and reintroducing the game to modern audiences. A lot has changed since the original Resident Evil 4 release. As state-of-the-art as it was when it came out, its tanky controls, inability to move while aiming, and jarring QuickTime events, just to name a few things, haven't aged particularly well in today's gaming landscape. This remake of Resident Evil 4 aims to address those elements that haven't aged well, and are ushering an entirely new look for this fourth entry. Protagonist Leon S. Kennedy can now freely aim his weapons while moving about the gloomy environments, a change that so many have wanted to see implemented after the tank-like controls of the original. Other quality additions to the gameplay are numerous, so much in fact that this game feels more like a reimagining of the Resident Evil 4 game than a completely faithful remake, as brand new gameplay elements have been added to the game. This could be where Resident Evil 4 purists might be dissuaded, as these elements will certainly alter the experience just a bit. For one, players are able to utilize stealth in the remake by crouch walking, allowing players to get in a stealth kill should they approach an enemy while undetected, similar to The Last of Us or the Callisto Protocol's stealth gameplay. In addition, the knife has been significantly altered this time around. Unlike the original, where Leon would clumsily, albeit hilariously, swipe his knife around to break open barrels for items, or cheese the Jack Krauser fight. Come on, we all know that you did that too, myself included. The knife in the Resident Evil 4 Remake handles much more naturally, allowing players to charge for the jugulars of the Ganados with aggressive finesse, and to more naturally crack open item barrels. What's more, players are able to parry attacks, rewarding good timing to essentially render the Ganados temporarily incapacitated to make quick work of them. When grabbed, players can hit the appropriate button to get out of the attack, and can result in a pretty sweet finisher. And on top of all that, this is where the controversial addition to the knife comes into play, and it is none other than the knife now having a durability bar. That's right, so this bar will deplete when certain actions are taken when using your knife. As to how much the bar depletes when completing actions like opening item crates and barrels, or from attacking enemies, remains unclear. What I can confirm, however, is that the knife's durability will increase when the player blocks an attack from Mr. Salvador, for example, as his chainsaw comes into contact with Leon's knife. This is a wonderful option to escape an instant kill like from this chainsaw here, but at the same time renders your knife completely useless as the player will be unable to use the knife until the weapon gets repaired. With no information on how to repair the knife, we'll just have to wait and see how one will go about doing that. Will we be able to repair the knife while interacting with our favorite merchant here, or can we do this by expending resources in the crafting menu? No one knows, but make sure to stop by this channel frequently as I will be covering a lot more of this game as we get closer to the game's release on March 24th, 2023. Perhaps an even more exciting change to the game's gameplay comes in the form of a complete lack of QuickTime events during the cutscenes. The original Resident Evil 4, along with its 11 re-releases, all tasked the player to input the correct buttons to pass certain thresholds within the cutscenes. These included things like running away from boulders to then dodge at the last moment to get out of the way, bracing from an impact from one of Mendez's strikes, and engaging in a knife fight with Krauser. They were jarring, and left the player uneasy about when they would appear, as rewatching the cutscene over and over again just to pass a few seconds long QuickTime event was just too jarring and not very fun, even back in 2005. With these QuickTime events now gone, players can now more fully enjoy the lengths the team have redesigned these cutscenes. Speaking of the story this time around, great care has gone into making the story feel more grounded. Still retaining some of the goof and cheese that the original release had. Remember the bingo line, everyone? This remake seeks to instill more fear and unease into players this time around, with characters more realistically reacting to the horrors and strange occurrences around them. Ashley Graham has received a different character model this time around, showing much more emotion and concern than ever before. Let's hope that her escort sections have been tweaked a bit to allow for a more enjoyable experience. Please, Water Castle area, oh please heed my words. Leon looks more akin to his Resident Evil 2 remake inclusion in the story. Previously sectioned to just radio calls in the original, Hannigan is awesomely recreated with a full character model, as her scenes show her communicating with Leon while at her control room, creating a much more cinematic feel for the game's cutscenes. This goes doubly so for the game's beautiful environments, as the game looks significantly darker, grittier, and far more sinister than the original game. The washed out look of the original fared exceptionally well back on the older hardware, and still looks completely acceptable in today's standards, but this remake is clearly going for more of a horror look this time around. The dark colors really stand out here, and with the exceptional lighting sported in the RE engine this time around, the game just feels more menacing, alive, and dangerous than it ever has before. Resident Evil 4 Remake is going to be an all-around incredible looking and playing game when it releases in March of 2023. The game does enough new to entice older fans of the original to revisit it, along with those who have never played Resident Evil 4 before, while giving those who played it a good sense of familiarity while subverting expectations in meaningful ways to keep the entire experience fresh. Now, there are some things that haven't been elaborated on yet, including whether or not other modes will be included at launch. Resident Evil 4 had an incredible Mercenaries mode that tasked the players with clearing out an ever-aggressive onslaught of enemies for points as players raced against time. We also saw Ada Wong receive crucial campaigns of her own, including her own side mission, Assignment Ada, along with the much larger and several-hour expansion, Separate Ways, detailing key moments of the story as seen through Ada's perspective. If the game can manage to include all this bonus content from the original, it would be absolutely insane. Resident Evil 4 is a beefy game by itself, offering players 12 to 15 hours of an incredibly solid campaign, but with all the modes added, the value of the package shoots up past the 20-hour mark easily. In addition, there was an announcement that the PS5 version would include PSVR 2 support in some way, with some content being developed exclusively for that VR platform. Although the contents are unclear for now, playing the entire game in VR, like the recent Quest 2 VR adaptation, would be absolutely killer. Resident Evil 8 will also have a VR mode when it launches on the PSVR 2 free of charge for those who already own the game on PS5. If you still aren't sold as to why this game will be one of the best games of 2023, then, well... For those coming into the game for the first time, or those returning to this legendary game and its remake, we are all in for one heck of a time. March simply cannot come soon enough. If you enjoyed this video, then go ahead and slash that like button and roundhouse kick the subscribe button if you loved it. As stated earlier, I will be doing a giveaway of this game in March, so stay tuned for that. Make sure to keep coming back to this channel as I will update you all with the latest news surrounding Resident Evil 4 Remake as soon as I get it. Check this video out for essential tips to help you survive the Callisto Protocol's hard mode. Thank you all for the awesome support, and I look forward to seeing you all real soon in the next video. Peace!